the UK, where opposition leader Keir Starmer has been heckled by anti-vaccine protesters near Parliament in London. A group surrounded the Labour leader and screamed "traitor" at him. There were also shouts of "Jimmy Savile."
For the working class man! Move out of the way! Get back! Move out of the way!
Starmer was unharmed and was escorted away safely by police. The Jimmy Savile reference comes from a debunked claim that Keir Starmer personally failed to prosecute the serial sex offender and paedophile Jimmy Savile. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has condemned the harassment of Starmer, calling the behaviour of those protesters disgraceful and unacceptable. But several lawmakers blame the Prime Minister himself for this incident. That's because Boris Johnson made claims about Starmer's role in the Savile case in the House of Commons last week.
Let's be absolutely clear. I'm talking not about the leader of the opposition's personal record when he was DPP, and I totally understand that he had nothing to do personally with those decisions. I was making a point about his responsibility for the organisation as a whole, and I think people can see that. And I really do want to clarify that because it is important.
Well, that was Boris Johnson's clarification after those comments that he initially made in the House of Commons, but he's now under pressure to go further and apologise to the Labour leader. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister is reshuffling his ministerial team and shaking up his whip's office. Rumours have claimed that the Chief Whip, Mark Spencer, might get sacked or moved. The Prime Minister also continues the overhaul of his back office team as well. Our correspondent Benji Hire joins us live now from London for more on all of this. And Benji, first of all, on that Keir Starmer story, any sign of an apology from Boris Johnson to the leader of the opposition? Benji, what of that apology that many MPs want from Boris Johnson to Keir Starmer? Any sign of that? We can't get Benji to us right now, so let's move to Australia, where the Prime Minister has apologised to political staffer and alleged sexual abuse victim Brittany Higgins. Scott Morrison says he is sorry to victims of workplace harassment. Australia's Parliament, including the Speaker of the House, acknowledged and apologised for their role in perpetuating harassment. Brittany Higgins sat in the gallery and watched while Morrison spoke.
I am sorry. We are sorry. I'm sorry to Ms Higgins for the terrible things that took place here. And the place that should have been a place of safety and contribution turned out to be a nightmare. But I'm sorry for far more than that, for all of those who came before Ms Higgins and endured the same, but she had the courage to stand. And so here we are.
Australia's culture of harassment was exposed by the Sex Discrimination Commissioner's probe. Investigations found 37% of people working in the Australian Parliament have experienced bullying. It also found that 1 out of 3 staffers has experienced sexual harassment. The Prime Minister's apology comes at a time when his personal integrity is under attack. That includes in the form of text leaks from coalition partners who've described him as a hypocrite and a liar. Moreover, Morrison's party is facing censure over a religious freedom bill. Polls show he has been marked down by voters for his recent handling of the COVID pandemic as well. Australia goes to the polls in May. And actually, in the last few moments, the Speaker of the House of Commons, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, has been giving a statement to MPs, re that hounding of Sir Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party that we saw in Westminster last night, which some MPs are linking to comments that Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, had previously made about Keir Starmer and the prosecution or otherwise of the paedophile and sex offender Jimmy Savile. Many MPs are calling on Boris Johnson to apologise. So Lindsay Hoyle, in this statement to the House of Commons, has said words have consequences. Well, let's talk to Benji Hire about this now. And Benji, any sign of that apology that some MPs do want to see from Boris Johnson to Keir Starmer?
No, not yet, Ollie. Boris Johnson did write a tweet in which he condemned the disgraceful and unacceptable behaviour, in his words, but he stopped short of actually saying sorry. That's despite, as you say, many MPs calling on him to do so, even MPs from his own side, because of what they argue could be a link between those ugly scenes that you saw and remarks made by Boris Johnson in the House of Commons, where he alleged that Sir Keir Starmer, in his previous capacity as Director of Public Prosecutions, did not prosecute the child abuser, I should say, Jimmy Savile. And over all of this, we've also seen one of Boris Johnson's longest-serving aides resign because of Boris Johnson's refusal to apologise. Now, you may have also heard earlier in the programme that Boris Johnson did seek to clarify the remarks. He said afterwards that he was not explicitly saying that Sir Keir Starmer was responsible personally, but nonetheless the Labour Party have directly linked Boris Johnson by saying that he is responsible partly for inciting that mob that we saw because of what he said. Again, those remarks being echoed by the Speaker of the House of Commons in the sense that words matter and words have implications. In fact, Labour MP Chris Bryant even said in his words that this is exactly the same as Donald Trump's playbook. Importantly for Number 10, importantly for the Prime Minister, no Conservative MPs have come forward in the past couple of hours to give their letters of no confidence in their leader. But if 54 of those are submitted, then there will be a confidence vote in the PM.
Yet, of course, we don't actually know that because some of those letters could have gone in anonymously, but certainly true that no one has publicly said they are submitting a letter in the last few hours. And Benji, Boris Johnson's been holding his cabinet this morning. A reshuffle we expect to be underway, even if it's only a mini reshuffle. What should we read into some of those touted moves that we're hearing about in Boris Johnson's ministerial team?
That's right. Those changes could come potentially as soon as today, following that cabinet meeting. The talk perhaps of the chief whip being replaced. You might recall that he stand accused of telling a former minister that she was replaced in her position because other colleagues were uncomfortable about her Muslim faith. Also expected to be further support for Steve Barclay. He's just been appointed as the new Number 10 Chief of Staff, but he also holds other positions. He's an MP, he's a minister, and therefore giving him extra support might be seen as something needed. In general, a real effort, a concerted effort by Number 10, by Boris Johnson, to try to give the impression that there's going to be a fresh start in Downing Street, new members coming in to oversee operations, and that's of course in light of the so-called Partygate, those series of revelations about gatherings held in the Prime Minister's residence during lockdowns, which opposition parties argue were against the rules at the time. And this is certainly going to, as Number 10 hopes, give the impression that Boris Johnson is sort of starting afresh here, has listened to the concerns that were raised in senior civil servant Sue Gray's report into those gatherings, and that this new crop of people coming in will be able to deliver on the promises that Boris Johnson wants to see for the country and kind of move away from Partygate, other sort of rows, and potentially provide quite a neat distraction from what's been a very uncomfortable and turbulent few weeks for Boris Johnson.
OK, Benji, thank you.